All right, so get this. Today, we are going deep, really deep into Grant Cardone's The 10X Rule.
Oh, yeah. I know that one.
It's this book about really like pushing your limits and going for huge success. Right. Like, have you ever felt like you could be doing more, but something's just holding you back?
Totally. Yeah.
So that's what we're going to break down today. Cardone's strategies for busting through those walls and reaching, I don't know, a whole new level.
Yeah. It really makes you rethink how you set goals.
Right.
Like instead of aiming for those, I don't know, those safe and comfy goals, Cardone's like, nope, multiply those goals by 10.
Whoa, 10 times my goals. I'm barely keeping up with my to-do list. But, okay, why does he go for such a crazy approach?
That's the thing. See, Cardone thinks that we always underestimate how much effort we actually need for success.
Yeah, and so we end up settling.
Exactly. She says that most people fail not because they can't do it, but because they're not aiming high enough and not pushing themselves hard enough.
So it's all about, what, breaking free from those limits we put on ourselves and thinking bigger. Right.
Exactly. And to hit those crazy, almost impossible 10x goals, he says you got to take 10 times the action, like way more than you think you need.
Okay, but let's be real here for a second. A lot of us, we're already super busy, right? How are we supposed to find the time and energy for all this massive action on top of everything else?
Now, that's where things get really interesting. Cardone, he actually lays out these 4 degrees of action that people usually operate in.
Okay.
So he starts at the bottom with, well, doing nothing, obviously. Then it's retreat, and then, normal action, which is where most people are at. But to reach those 10x goals, you got to be in the zone of massive action.
It's like a video game, choosing your fighter based on, I don't know, how much effort you're willing to put in. What does this massive action even look like in real life?
Think of it as going way, way above and beyond what anyone else would even think of as reasonable, like pushing yourself to the absolute limit and then pushing even further.
So if I'm always feeling overwhelmed and stressed, does that mean I'm in that massive action zone?
Well, not necessarily. Cardone says it's about being strategic, not just working yourself to death.
Makes sense.
It's about finding the actions that'll make the biggest impact and focusing all your energy on those. He also talks a lot about getting rid of excuses and owning your success, taking responsibility.
So no more blaming traffic or a bad economy?
Right. It's about knowing that you can overcome any obstacle if you put in the work. He even says that those obstacles, they can actually be helpful.
Really? How?
He has this really interesting view on fear. He sees it as a compass, like it's pointing you toward the areas where you need to grow.
Okay.
Think about it. What are you most afraid of doing? Those might be the exact places where you have the biggest chance for it, like massive 10x growth.
Wow, that's a really cool way to look at it. So instead of running away from those fears, we should run towards them. It's kind of the opposite of what we usually think, but I can see how facing those fears could lead to big breakthroughs.
Exactly. And remember, we're talking about 10x thinking here. It's all about challenging those old habits of playing it safe and pushing yourself way past your comfort zone.
Okay, I'm starting to get it. Okay, so this whole using fear as a roadmap is really sticking with me. It's like those times when you're so scared to do something and then you finally do it and you realize, hey, that wasn't so bad after all.
Right. You know that feeling.
Yeah, and you end up feeling like you can do anything.
Exactly. Like after you give a big presentation or you finally hit publish on something you've been working on forever, it's that feeling of pushing past the fear and proving to yourself you can totally handle it.
And those are the moments when you really build confidence, right? Okay, I did that. What's next?
Absolutely. And that's the energy Cardone wants you to capture with this whole 10x rule thing, It's about taking those little wins and using them to fuel those bigger goals. Keep pushing.
But there's got to be a line between healthy ambition and just being obsessed, right? Can you take this 10x thing too far?
That's a good point. And that's where Cardone's idea of obsession gets really interesting. He doesn't see it as a bad thing. He actually sees it as this powerful way to get extraordinary things done. It's about focusing all that energy and intensity into something positive and, productive.
So it's about finding a good balance between passion and, not going overboard.
Exactly. It's about having that drive, but also taking care of yourself, making sure you're not hurting your health or relationships, just to be successful.
Right, because burnout is real. Even if you start with the best intentions, you can still push yourself too hard and end up exhausted.
Oh, totally. And that's why Cardone talking about strategic action is so important. It's not just about working more hours. It's about picking the right things to work on, making sure you're working smart.
So it's like applying the 10x rule to, I don't know, How we manage our energy,
Yeah.
being smart about our time so we can get more done without burning out.
Exactly. It's about finding that rhythm where you're pushing yourself when it really matters, but also taking breaks and recharging so you can keep going strong.
I'm seeing the bigger picture now. It's not about just working harder. It's about working smarter, taking care of yourself, and putting that 10x energy into the things that matter most.
Yes, exactly. And that actually brings us to another big part of the 10X rule, competition. Cardone, he isn't a fan of just trying to keep up with everyone else, you know? He wants you to dominate.
Dominate, not compete. Sounds kind of intense. But I guess if everyone's trying to be successful, you got to stand out somehow, right?
That's exactly his point. He says this 10X mindset makes you so good, so valuable, that you basically don't even have to worry about competition.
Like becoming the best, the person everyone goes to in your field.
Yes, you set new standards, push boundaries, and always aim for being the best. That's what makes you unignorable, he says.
Unignorable. I like that. But, with all that attention, you're going to get some criticism too, right? Not everyone's going to be happy for you. How does the 10X rule deal with that?
Great question. And it brings us to another interesting point from Cardone. He actually welcomes criticism. He sees it as a good sign, actually.
Wait, so the haters are telling us we're doing something right.
In a way, yeah. He thinks that if you're not making anyone uncomfortable, you're probably not thinking big enough or pushing yourself hard enough.
Okay, I'm seeing how this all fits together. Fear shows you where to go, obsession fuels you, criticism means you're on the right track, and success is... Wait, what does he say about success?
This is where it gets really deep. He actually says success isn't just something nice to have, it's an obligation.
An obligation? Never thought of it that way. What does he mean?
He says we owe it to ourselves, our families, and even society to go after our full potential. When we achieve success, it's not just about us. It creates positive change in the world.
So it's about using our talents to make things better, to leave things better than we found them.
Exactly. It's about realizing we all have something special to offer. Success isn't just about money. It's about making a difference and leaving a good legacy behind.
I like that. It's not just about me.
And it ties back to that 10X rule, By setting those big goals, taking tons of action, and getting past our fears, we're not just helping ourselves, we're inspiring other people to do the same.
I feel really inspired, but I gotta be honest, part of me still wonders if this kind of intensity is something you can keep up long term. What about rest and recovery?
That's a great question and a really important one. Cardone doesn't really get into rest and recovery in the 10X rule, but I think it's crucial.
So how do we balance this massive action with taking breaks so we don't burn out?
It's about finding that balance that works for you, knowing that rest isn't a weakness. It's actually like an investment in your success in the long run.
So it's a 10X approach to taking care of yourself, being smart about how you recharge so you can keep going at your best.
Exactly. We're not machines, we're humans. We got to take care of ourselves physically, mentally, emotionally, if we want to succeed in the long run.
I like that. It's like taking that 10X thinking and applying it to all parts of our lives, even rest.
Exactly. It's a complete approach to success, one that includes our ambitions, our actions, and our well-being.
This deep dive into the 10X rule has been so insightful. I'm feeling really energized to take these ideas and try them out in my own life.
It's been great exploring all this with you. And before we wrap up, there's one more thing I think would be really relevant for our listeners today.
Okay, lay it on me. What's this last idea?
It's about, getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. Cardone says that most people, they just stay in their comfort zones, but that's where you get stuck, To really get those 10X results, you got to be okay with pushing past those limits and embracing that discomfort that most people would run from.
Yeah, that makes sense. We've been talking about these huge goals and taking massive action and facing our fears and all that. I mean, that's definitely going to push us out of our comfort zones.
Exactly. It's not about just looking for discomfort for no reason, but realizing that real growth and breakthroughs, those usually happen when you're feeling a little uncomfortable.
So we should see that discomfort as a good sign, like we're on the right track, pushing ourselves to grow.
Right. And the more you get used to that feeling, the bigger your comfort zone gets.
Yeah.
What used to be scary starts to feel okay, and then you can do even more, try even bigger things.
It's like working out a muscle, that ability to be okay with discomfort and keep going even when it's tough.
Perfect analogy. And you need that muscle if you want to reach those 10X goals, because let's be honest, going after big things, is rarely easy or comfortable.
I see how all the parts of this 10X rule work together now. Big goals, big action, being fearless, and being okay with being uncomfortable. It's a pretty powerful combo.
It is. But I'm curious, what's been the biggest takeaway for you so far from this deep dive into the 10X rule? What's really resonating with you?
I think, honestly, it's been a total mind shift for me. I've always been more of a play it safe kind of person, setting realistic goals, not taking too many risks. But this whole 10X thing is making me rethink all that. Like, what if I thought bigger, acted bolder? What could I really achieve?
That's amazing. And remember, it's not about becoming Grant Cardone. It's about taking these ideas and making them work for you. Finding what feels right and empowering for you.
Totally. It's about finding my own 10X path, one that fits with my values and what I'm passionate about.
I love that. Well, as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with one final thing to think about.
Okay, let's hear it.
Think about something in your life where you've been holding yourself back, maybe playing it safe or letting fear make your decisions for you. What would it look like to use the 10X rule in that area? What huge goal could you set? What bold action could you take even today to get closer to that goal?
That's a really powerful question. It's like a challenge to all of us to think bigger, be bolder, and really go after everything we're capable of.
Exactly. Remember, the 10X rule isn't just a bunch of tactics. It's a way of thinking, a way of approaching life with purpose, courage, and really believing in yourself and what you can achieve.
This has been such an insightful deep dive. I feel like I have a whole new perspective on setting goals, taking action, and creating a life that really matters.
It was great exploring all this with you. And just remember, knowledge is only powerful if you use it. So take these ideas, put them into action, and see what kind of 10X results you can create in your own life.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the 10X rule. Until next time, keep pushing those limits, keep taking action, and keep reaching for those 10X goals.